Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The darkness before the Islam. 1400 years ago, the world was drowning in darkness. Arabia was lost in ignorance. Tribes fought endless wars, idols surrounded the Kaaba, injustice ruled the land, and the weak were crushed by the strong. Women were buried alive, slaves were treated as less than human, and bloodshed was a way of life. This period was known as Jahiliyyah, the age of ignorance. The people of Makkah had the house of Allah, the Kaaba, but instead of worshipping the one God, they filled it with 360 idols. Their hearts were empty of guidance, their souls restless for light. The world desperately needed a messenger, a final prophet, to bring the message of truth. And Allah, in His infinite wisdom, chose Muhammad, the man who would change history forever. The Qur'an reminds us of this transformation. Greater than, indeed, Allah conferred a great favor upon the believers when He sent among them a messenger from themselves, reciting to them His verses, purifying them, and teaching them the book and wisdom, although they had been before in manifest error. Surah Al-Imran 3. 164. The early life of Muhammad. Even before prophethood, Muhammad was known as Al-Amin, the trustworthy, and as Sadiq, the truthful. He never bowed to idols, never cheated, never lied. His honesty in trade, his kindness to the poor, his fairness with people, all of this made him beloved in Makkah. But he was also deeply reflective. The corruption of society pained him. He often withdrew from the noise of the city, climbing up the mountain of Hira to meditate in a cave, seeking truth and meaning. It was during one of these nights of reflection, in the stillness of cave Hira, that the greatest moment in history unfolded. The first revelation. The prophet was 40 years old when the angel Gabriel descended upon him. Wrapped in light, the angel commanded him. Greater than, read. Surah Al-Alaq 96, 1. Terrified, Muhammad replied, I cannot read. Again, Jibril embraced him and said, greater than, read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. Surah Al-Alaq 96, 1-5. These first verses mark the beginning of a revolution. The Quran had descended, not as a book of stories, but as guidance, wisdom, and light. The Prophet returned home trembling, comforted by his beloved wife Khadijah, who assured him, by Allah, He will never disgrace you. You uphold ties of kinship, you bear the burden of the weak, you help the poor, and you honor the guest. The struggle of the early days. At first, the Prophet shared the message secretly. Only the closest family and friends embraced Islam. Khadijah, the first believer, his source of comfort. Abu Bakr, his loyal companion. Ali, his young cousin. Zayd ibn Haritha, his adopted son. These first believers laid the foundation of a new faith built on justice, equality, and devotion to Allah alone. When the command came to call openly, the Prophet climbed Mount Safa and declared, greater than, O people of Quraysh, if I told you an army was advancing to attack you, would you believe me? They replied, yes, we have always found you truthful. He said, then know that I am a warner to you of a severe punishment. Worship Allah alone and abandon these idols. The response was brutal. His own uncle, Abu Lahab, cursed him, and many in Quraysh mocked him. Yet the Quran gave him strength. Greater than, so be patient, O Muhammad. Indeed, the promise of Allah is true. And let not those who lack certainty discourage you. Surah Ar-Rum 30, 60. Persecution and patience. As the message spread, so did hostility. The weak and poor who accepted Islam faced torture. Bilal ibn Rabah, a slave, was dragged into the desert, pinned under stones, and whipped, yet he cried out, Ahad. Ahad. 1. Sumayya, the first martyr of Islam, was killed for refusing to abandon her faith. Yet the Prophet taught his followers patience, reminding them that Jannah awaited those who remained firm. Allah's words echoed as comfort. Greater than, do you think you will enter paradise while there has not yet come to you the trial of those who passed away before you? They were touched by poverty and hardship and were shaken, until the messenger and those who believed with him said, when will the help of Allah come? Unquestionably, the help of Allah is near. Surah Al-Baqarah 2, 214. The Quran, light in darkness. Even in these difficult years, verses of the Quran descended to strengthen hearts. Surahs filled with powerful messages gave courage. Surah Al-Fatiha, teaching Muslims how to pray and seek Allah's guidance. Surah Al-Ikhlas, declaring pure monotheism. Surah Al-Muzammil, commanding the Prophet to rise at night in prayer, finding strength in worship. Surah Al-Duha, revealed when the Prophet felt distressed, assuring him, greater than, your Lord has not abandoned you, nor has he detested you. And the hereafter is better for you than the present. 93. 3-4. The Quran was not just words, it was life itself, healing broken hearts and giving hope. The message of justice and equality. Islam challenged the corrupt social order of Makkah. The Quran declared that all humans are equal, regardless of race, wealth, or status. Greater than, O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Surah Al-Hujurat 49, 13. This was revolutionary in a society where lineage and wealth defined honor. Islam lifted the oppressed and humbled the arrogant. Trials of the Prophet. The Prophet himself was not spared. He was mocked, called a magician, accused of madness, and his path was littered with thorns. Once, while praying in the Kaaba, Abu Jahl placed camel intestines on his back. His daughter Fatima rushed to clean him, crying, but he only raised his hands and prayed for his people, O Allah, forgive my people, for they know not. The Quran reassured him, greater than, and we certainly know that your chest is constrained by what they say. So glorify the praises of your Lord and be of those who prostrate. And worship your Lord until there comes to you certainty death. Surah Al-Hijr 15, 97-99. The first migration. When persecution became unbearable, the Prophet permitted some Muslims to migrate to Abyssinia, where a just Christian king, the Negus, ruled. There, the Muslims recited verses of Surah Maryam, moving the king to tears. He declared, this and what Jesus brought come from the same source. Migration, struggles, and the Quran as a guide. The years in Makkah were filled with suffering. The Prophet and his companions faced insults, torture, and boycotts. Yet, the Quran remained their comfort, reminding them that patience leads to victory. But as hostility grew, a new chapter in the mission unfolded, one that would transform Islam from a persecuted faith into a global civilization. This turning point was the Hijra, migration, to Madinah. It was more than a physical journey, it was the beginning of building a society founded on the Quran. The boycott and the year of sorrow. Before migration, the Muslims endured unbearable trials. The Quraysh imposed a social and economic boycott, forcing Muslims into a valley where food was scarce. Children cried from hunger, and believers ate leaves to survive. Then came the year of sorrow, the death of Khadija the Prophet's beloved wife, and Abu Talib, his protective uncle. Alone, with his support gone, the Prophet traveled to Ta'if seeking refuge. Instead of welcoming him, the people mocked him, stoned him until his feet bled. Yet, even in that painful moment, his prayer reflected mercy, not anger. O Allah, guide my people, for they know not. It was in these darkest days that Allah revealed verses of hope. Greater than, for indeed, with hardship comes ease. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Surah Ash-Shar 94, 5-6. The night journey, Isra and Miraj. To strengthen him, Allah blessed the Prophet with a miraculous journey. In one night, he was taken from Makkah to Jerusalem and then ascended through the heavens. He met earlier prophets, witnessed the wonders of paradise and the terrors of hell, and ultimately stood before Allah. It was during this journey that the gift of Salah, prayer, was given, 5 daily prayers, a direct link between believers and their Lord. The Quran mentions this miracle. Greater than, exalted is he who took his servant by night from al-Masjid al-Haram to al-Masjid al-Aqsa, whose surroundings we have blessed, to show him of our signs. Indeed, he is the hearing, the seeing. Surah al-Isra 17, 1. The Hijra, migration to Madinah. As hostility in Makkah grew unbearable, Allah opened a new door. The people of Yathrib, later called Madinah, invited the Prophet to be their leader and peacemaker. Secretly, Muslims began migrating there. When Quraysh plotted to kill the Prophet, Allah commanded him to leave. On the night of the plot, he slipped away, while Ali bravely lay in his bed to mislead the assassins. The Prophet journeyed with Abu Bakr, hiding in the cave of Thar. When Quraysh trackers reached the cave, Abu Bakr trembled in fear. But the Prophet reassured him with words immortalized in the Quran. Greater than, do not grieve, indeed Allah is with us. Surah At-Tawbah 9:40. From this moment, the Hijra marked the beginning of the Islamic calendar, a symbol of sacrifice and trust in Allah. The Quran is the foundation of a new society. In Madinah, the Prophet laid the foundation of a just and united society, guided by the Quran. 1. Brotherhood between Muslims. The Muhajirin, migrants from Makkah, were paired with the Ansar, helpers of Madinah, as brothers, sharing homes, wealth, and love. Greater than, the believers are but brothers, so make settlement between your brothers. And fear Allah that you may receive mercy. Surah Al-Hujurat 49, 10. 2. The Constitution of Madinah. A treaty ensured peace among Muslims, Jews, and other groups, recognizing the Prophet as leader. It was one of history's first written constitutions, based on justice and mutual respect. 3. Mosque is a center of life. The Prophet built the first mosque in Madinah, not only as a place of prayer but as a center for learning, governance, and community. The Quran is guidance in battle. Soon, the Muslims faced threats from Quraysh. The Quran revealed guidance during these battles, teaching patience, courage, and reliance on Allah. The Battle of Badr, the first victory. In the second year after Hijrah, 313 Muslims faced an army of 1,000 Quraysh. Outnumbered and unequipped, they placed their trust in Allah. The Quran promised help. Greater than, when you asked for help of your Lord, and He answered you, indeed, I will reinforce you with 1,000 angels following one another. Surah Al-Anfal 8, 9. The Muslims emerged victorious, proving that faith and reliance on Allah outweigh numbers and strength. The Battle of Uhud, a lesson in obedience. A year later, Quraysh returned with a force of 3,000. The Muslims initially gained advantage, but some disobeyed the Prophet by abandoning their positions. The Quraysh counterattacked, and many Muslims were martyred, including Hamza the beloved uncle of the Prophet. The Quran explained the cause. Greater than, and Allah certainly fulfilled His promise to you when you were killing them by His permission, until you lost courage and fell into dispute about the command and disobeyed after He showed you what you love. Surah Al-Imran 3, 152. This painful loss became a lesson, that victory comes only with obedience to Allah and His Messenger. The Battle of the Trench, unity against all odds. Later, Quraysh allied with other tribes to attack Madinah. The Muslims, inspired by a companion's idea, dug a trench around the city. Despite hunger and fear, their unity and trust in Allah protected them. The Quran described this trial. Greater than, when they came at you from above you and from below you, and when eyes shifted in fear, and hearts reached the throats, and you assumed about Allah various assumptions. There the believers were tested and shaken with a severe shaking. Surah Al-Ahzab 33, 10-11. But Allah's help descended, scattering the enemy with a storm. It was clear, faith and steadfastness lead to Allah's victory. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah, a test of patience. In the 6th year after Hijrah, the Prophet set out for Makkah with his companions to perform Umrah. Quraysh blocked them, and after tense negotiations, a treaty was signed at Hudaybiyah. Many Muslims saw it as humiliating. But the Quran declared it a victory. Greater than, indeed, we have given you a clear conquest. Surah Al-Fath 48, 1. Why? Because it gave peace, allowed the message to spread, and within 2 years, more people entered Islam than ever before. The Quran, shaping hearts and society. During these years, the Quran continued to transform individuals and society. Rules of justice and fairness, revealed in Surah An-Nisa and Surah Al-Ma'idah. Guidance on family and community life, laws of marriage, inheritance, and social responsibility. Strengthening of faith. Verses constantly reminded believers to trust Allah, even in hardship. The Quran was not theory, it was lived guidance, shaping every aspect of life. Victory, farewell, and the eternal message. After years of hardship, battles, and patience, the message of Islam spread widely. The Quran had guided the Prophet and his companions through every trial. Now, Allah's promise was about to be fulfilled, truth would prevail, and falsehood would vanish. The final chapters of the Prophet's mission were not just about victory on the battlefield, but about mercy, forgiveness, and leaving behind a universal message for all humanity. The Conquest of Makkah. In the 8th year after Hijrah, Quraysh violated the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. This gave the Muslims a just cause to march towards Makkah. The Prophet led an army of 10,000 believers, yet his heart carried no arrogance, only gratitude to Allah. When they entered Makkah, there was no bloodshed, no revenge. Instead, the Prophet declared a general amnesty. Greater than, whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyan is safe. Whoever closes the door of his house is safe. Whoever enters the sacred mosque is safe. Standing before the Kaaba, he removed the idols one by one, reciting the Quran. Greater than, and say, truth has come, and falsehood has vanished. Indeed, falsehood is bound to vanish. Surah Al-Isra 17, 81. The Kaaba was purified once again for the worship of Allah alone. This moment was not just a political victory, it was the fulfillment of a divine mission. The Quran's role in victory. The conquest was a living example of the Quran's teaching of mercy. Despite years of persecution, the Prophet forgave his enemies with the words, "Go, for you are free." This mercy won more hearts than swords ever could. In fact, after the conquest, thousands entered Islam. The Quran described this great event. Greater than, when the victory of Allah has come and the conquest, and you see the people entering into the religion of Allah in multitudes, then exalt Him with praise of your Lord and seek His forgiveness. Indeed, He is ever accepting of repentance. Surah An-Nasr 110, 1-3. The farewell pilgrimage. In the 10th year after Hijrah, the Prophet performed his only Hajj, known as the farewell pilgrimage. Over 100,000 Muslims gathered to witness his final sermon, where he delivered timeless guidance rooted in the Quran. The farewell sermon highlights 1. Equality of humanity. All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor a black over a white, except in piety and good action. This reflected the Quranic teaching. Greater than, indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Surah Al-Hujurat 49, 13. 2. Sanctity of life and property. He declared that every Muslim's life, honor, and property are sacred, just as the sanctity of the Kaaba and the day of Hajj. 3. Rights of women. He reminded men to treat women kindly, for they are entrusted to them by Allah. 4. Abolition of interest and revenge. The Prophet abolished usury, riba, and blood feuds, promoting economic justice and peace. 5. Holding fast to the Quran and Sunnah. His final advice: I leave behind 2 things, the Book of Allah and my Sunnah. If you hold fast to them, you will never go astray. The completion of revelation. During the farewell pilgrimage, one of the most powerful verses of the Quran was revealed. Greater than, "This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you and have approved for you Islam as your religion." Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:3. This verse marked the completion of Allah's guidance. Islam was now perfected, and the Quran was the eternal source of light. The Prophet's final days. After returning to Madinah, the Prophet became ill. Even in sickness, his concern was for his people's prayer and unity. He instructed that Abu Bakr lead the prayer in his absence, a sign of leadership after him. In his final moments, his lips moved with words of the Quran. He raised his hands toward the heavens, saying, "O Allah, with the highest companion." And thus, the messenger returned to his Lord, leaving behind a nation guided by revelation. The Quran, eternal guidance. With the Prophet's passing, the Quran remained as the eternal miracle. Unlike earlier revelations, it was preserved word for word, letter by letter. Allah promised, "Greater than, indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian." Surah Al-Hijr 15:9. The Quran is not just history, it is a living book. Its verses speak to every generation. To the oppressed, it gives hope. To the lost, it gives direction. To the broken, it gives healing. To the seekers, it gives light. Final reminder, the closing bell. The story of the Prophet is not merely a tale of the past. It is a call for us today. Just as the early Muslims built their lives on the Quran, so must we. The Quran is not for recitation alone, it is a manual for life, a source of strength, and a path to paradise. Let us remember the Prophet's final message. Value the Quran, live by its guidance, uphold justice, mercy, and equality. Prepare for the day when we will stand before Allah. Greater than, and this is a book we have revealed, blessed and confirming what was before it, so that you may warn the mother of cities, Makkah, and those around it. And those who believe in the hereafter believe in it, and they are maintaining their prayers. Surah Al-An'am 6-92. The Prophet completed his mission. The Quran remains with us. The question is, will we carry this light forward? From the first revelation in the cave of Hira to the final verse in Arafat, the Quran guided the Prophet through every moment of his mission. It transformed hearts, built a nation, and left humanity with the greatest gift: divine guidance that will last until the end of time. The bell of his mission has rung, but its echo continues. The Quran calls us still. Hold fast to Allah's rope, and do not let go. This is our path to success in this world and paradise in the next.